Hello and welcome to this episode of Class is in Session here on Black Enterprise. I'm your host, Ashley Stevens, and this show highlights the latest happenings inside HBCU classrooms, public policy issues facing these historic institutions, and we also shine a light on HBCU leaders, students, and alum who are making major moves in business, education, the arts, and entertainment. I'm super excited to have a special guest with us, Stephanie L. Nelson, founder of S.L. Nelson Law Firm, PLLC. She's the founder of her own law firm in one of the biggest cities in the world, New York. Her practice spans criminal defense, family law, employment, contracts, and commercial landlord matters. The HBCU graduate of Southern University Law Center in Baton Rouge discusses how she built her law firm from the ground up, offers tips on what to know before hiring an attorney, and how her work as a solo practitioner reflects a growing trend of independent attorneys. I'm excited to welcome Stephanie Nelson here to Class is in Session. Hello, Stephanie.
Hello, Miss Stevens. Thank you for having me.
Absolutely glad to have you. And listen, for you and our audience purposes, I am in media and I am not in law. So just know that everything we learn today will literally be Class in Session for me and hopefully as well as our audience as well to learn more about the legal system, criminal justice, and really your story and journey as an entrepreneur. So I'm really excited to learn more. So let's tell us a little bit about yourself. Where did you grow up and when did you first gain an interest in law?
So you gave me a stellar review. So I grew up in New York. I come from a mom and dad that were both in the military. So with that said, I was born in El Paso on the border of Juarez, Mexico. And then my parents relocated back to New York. So my dad's from the Bronx, my mom's from Philly, and I was raised in Long Island, Suffolk County, Long Island. And ever since I was a little girl, I've always wanted to advocate for people. I always wanted to fight for the voiceless and help people who didn't have a voice. So I became interested in law as early as 8 years old.
Wow. Did you know at the time that law and, being an attorney was the track you wanted to pursue, or was it more so you knew you wanted to advocate and help people?
I knew I wanted to advocate and help people. My mom went through the legal system when divorcing my dad, and unfortunately, they had a very contentious relationship. So when they divorced, I saw my mom go through a lot of things when pertaining to the legal proceedings and the divorce. So with that, I said, I want to help her. I want to be able to help anyone that is maybe hurting like her or needs help and they don't know how to navigate through the legal system. So that was my first exposure as a little girl to the legal system. And then as time progressed and I went to undergrad, I interned in ROR, which is release on recognizance. And that is in lockup. So when people got locked up and they needed legal aid, I would interview them for legal aid attorneys. And that's when I said, I want to do this.
Got it. ROR. That's interesting. Tell us about your undergrad experience. And also, I believe you spent some time in the Peace Corps. Definitely want to hear about that.
My undergrad major was criminal justice, and you can go through any avenue with criminal justice. So originally, I wanted to do law enforcement. So I interviewed with the U.S. Secret Service. I took some exams to become a New York State Trooper, Suffolk County police officer. So doing all of those exams, I got a call back from the New York State Troopers. But when they called me back, I was already relocated in East Africa. I was living in Uganda for Peace Corps. Again, it goes back to when I was a little girl, I always wanted to help. So I always had the spirit and the chemical makeup of servitude to service the community, to serve people. And both my parents were like that. So with that service, it intertwined and commingled with my undergrad degree of criminal justice to help, and as well as me going to the Peace Corps and serving in Africa. But I did know I wanted to serve on a bigger scale. I knew I needed the tools to do that. So that's when I said I have to get my Juris Doctor so I can go into the courtroom and litigate and really be that voice with the credentials.
Got it. What was one of the highlights of your experience in the Peace Corps in Uganda?
The highlight. Oh my gosh. So someone stole a book bag from me. It was on the back of my chair. I'm going somewhere with this. I was having dinner with a friend, and in that book bag were exams I had to grade because I was teaching technology, and also was a MacBook. And at the time I was dating someone, he purchased a MacBook with his hard earned money, and I took it personal. So there was a SIM card receipt on the floor. So I guess when he ran with the bag, the receipt was there and it was a SIM card with his phone number. So I hired a private investigator. I got a court to sign off on a subpoena to subpoena the phone records. I went 6 hours away to the capital of Uganda, to Kampala, and I worked with the private investigator. And through his phone records, we found someone that would work with us. So a young lady he was dating, and she told us where he was, and we found him. We shipped him back to Gulu, the little town in northern Uganda, and he was arrested, and I prosecuted him myself. I represented myself in a foreign country, and I won. I got the money back for my laptop. The judge said, you either pay her back for her machine, or you go to jail for 5 years. And he got the money.
Wow. I'm glad you never lied. When you said you're going somewhere with this, I would not have seen that being the end result. And at the time, like you said, you did not yet have your Juris Doctorate, but you still represented yourself, right? And prosecuted him.
East Africa, yes.
Oh, in East of all places. Did that take you learning in very short order about the laws in that country?
Not really, because it is similar, right? When you have a theft, it's a taking without authorization, a taking of another's property. You don't get authorization. So it's just, you have to prove the taking. I proved the taking, and he admitted it. And now I had to be made whole. And how am I made whole? You have to reimburse me. It's restitution for what you took. And the family helped him come up with the money. And he wasn't Ugandan. He was actually in Uganda for asylum, and the UN was paying these monthly fees to him and his family. He was from the Dominican of Republic of Congo.
Wow, that's
Yeah.
interesting. Well, I'm glad that worked out. Unfortunate that it happened. Glad it
Yeah.
worked out in your favor. And
Mhm.
also, helpful tools and skills to put in your quiver as you, literally embarked upon your career in law.
Yeah.
I think that's pretty cool. I think that's
Yeah.
pretty cool. Well,
Mhm.
tell us, we're here with Stephanie Nelson, founder of S.L. Nelson Law Firm, and she's a proud HBCU graduate of Southern University Law Center. Stephanie, why did you choose an HBCU?
Oh my gosh, I was so excited to choose Southern. There are only 6 left in the United States of America. And I wanted to just learn more of my roots. I knew if I relocated to Louisiana, it would be a different experience being a Northerner from New York. And I did learn. I learned about Black codes, Jim Crow. I got an opportunity to work with a symposium in a museum to enter how discriminatory laws affected people in the South from the 40s to the 50s to the 60s, even up until now. I also got a chance to just congregate with my own, right? And just learn about how the South works and the culture and the traditions. So it was really a blessing and an opportunity to be a part of the Southern community.
Awesome. You mentioned there were only 6 left in the country. Do you mean 6 historically black law schools?
Law schools. Only 6 HBCU law schools. Yes.
Wow. Wow,
Mhm.
that's a big deal. Well, tell us how Southern helped to prepare you personally and professionally for your career in law.
Absolutely. So Southern, at the time, it was Chancellor Pierre. He cultivated amazing relationships with federal programs in DC and programs all over. That was his strong suit. And he literally introduced me to a program that gave me the opportunity to live in DC for the summer, to work for the US Department of Interior, and to meet one of my mentors who now works for the Pentagon. So I got an opportunity to work for the Office of the Solicitors, which is under the US DOI. And one of the attorneys used to work for the Obama administration. And working for the Obama administration, he taught me so much how ethics works, although we're not really using it, but how ethics works and how procedures and operations work. So that partnership that HBCU law schools build for their students to go out in the real world and have practical experience, that is by far, that's something that I don't think a lot of law schools have. So he's literally making personal phone calls so his law students can be placed in these amazing internships.
Wow, that's a really big deal. That's really
Mhm,
cool. Glad to
mhm.
hear about the connections there. Let's kind of talk a little bit more about your journey into entrepreneurship and ownership. Tell us about the creation of SL Nelson Law.
So, the creation of SL Nelson Law, I wanted to dance in my own drum. I said, you know what? There are laws in place and there are ways to practice, right? And to navigate through the legal system. But when I was working at the DA's office as a prosecutor, I noticed that a lot of the supervisors practice law in a way with I didn't agree. I did not agree. And I said, you know what? I'm gonna go on the defense side. And I've always interviewed with different companies and always got interviews, always landed my interviews. But for some reason, I wasn't landing the interviews. So I was like, why am I not landing the interviews? I'm super spiritual, so I'm a woman of faith. I said, God, maybe you're trying to tell me to open my own law firm. Like everyone else is doing it. Even the top 10 law firms start somewhere. So I said, let me start my own law firm. And some of my friends were doing it in Louisiana. They were doing exceptionally well. And I started. I didn't even market, and clients just came by the boatloads. So with that mission statement, where advocacy is limitless, it is limitless with me. Even like going back to fighting in Uganda, right? One of my friends made a statement. She said, aren't you tired? Because the case was going on for 5 or 6 months. And I said, no, I'm not going to fly back to the US without a MacBook because I came here with a MacBook. So it's the same principle I apply. I give every client white glove service and I have privy to do that. I'm not restricted. There are no limitations on me. And with the white glove service, I can advocate for them relentlessly and in a way where there are no boundaries and no borders. Like I can just advocate the way I want to. And it's gotten me great results. 3 years in, I haven't lost a case yet.
That's remarkable. Stephanie,
Thank you.
congratulations on that alone. 3 years in, have not lost a case. That's huge. That's
Thank
huge. And I can't imagine the amount of work that takes. I'd love for you to tell our audience here at Black Enterprise, what does it mean to be a solo practitioner?
What that means is long nights, availing yourself to people, their problems, especially in the family law sector. It becomes almost emotional. It's very burdensome, but it's rewarding where a father who hasn't seen his children for 8 months now sees his children. So I would tell them that it's extremely challenging, and it's hard, but it's also rewarding. And I would also tell anyone who's even thinking about entrepreneurship or being a solo practitioner to just know that your life is not always going to be your own. That, you will have to avail yourself to constantly helping others.
Mhm.
But if you have the spirit to help others, the spirit to help your community, the spirit to always make sure that you're solving people's problems and you're doing it with joy and grace, you'll do well.
Awesome, awesome. Very sage advice from Stephanie Nelson here. Tell us about the types of cases and litigation that you work on.
Oh, some of them are so fun. I get, for confidentiality purposes, I can't express, but I get some A+ celebs. I got two of them, like contract disputes, anywhere from litigating about Twitter feuds, people who are defamation. I get family law cases, divorces. I get criminal law cases, which are fun too. And now I'm taking more employment law and commercial law cases. Immigration, I got about 3 immigration cases. I did get someone bonded out recently. He was detained by ICE, but now he is home with his family. And he was shipped from New York to Louisiana. So that was in 24 hours.
Wow.
Yeah, I get a lot of different array of cases, but I take them on the same tactic, the same legal structure to make sure that, procedurally I'm doing what I have to do and I'm taking care of the client's needs.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Mhm.
When I think of solo practitioner, and I don't want to be, I'm probably incorrect in thinking this. I'm like, Stephanie does it all and by herself. Stephanie, do you have a team at your law firm?
So I do. I have now a legal administrator, Miss Takesha Nelson. I have Ia Lashori. She's from the country Georgia. She is a senior paralegal. I have 3 co-counsel. One is in Houston, Texas. He practices federal immigration. CK. The other is Sean Farrell. He is co-counsel and he helps me with my employment law matters. And then I have Jalen Thomas. He is also in Houston, Texas, and he helps here and there when it comes to the family law matters.
Got it. Got it. So
Mhm.
good to know you have help, an array of folks who have expertise in various areas as well. That's really good to know. What have been some of your challenges in being a solo practitioner, particularly as a Black woman?
Woo! In this space, because there's 5% of women and the legal industry, and of that 5%, I believe 2% are minorities. Um, I believe that the hardest thing in this space is men, actually, and women, elderly, that think they look down on me almost as if I don't belong. But we have the same license. We are part of the same bar committee, and we have the same skill set. But when there is a long-standing, perpetual history of a certain type, people to look a certain way, people to be a certain way, then if you look anything different than that type, then inadvertently, sometimes people will reflect how they feel, right? So just even the way they address me or talk to me. Um, I walked into a courtroom one time and they said, "Oh, ma'am, you have to sit on the right side. This is for, the audience." And I said, "Well, no, I'm an attorney. So I'm representing someone." And he says, "Oh, I'm sorry." You know? So, it's just kind of combating that type of narrative. And I've been slowly doing it by being who I am, showing them that I'm very diligent, showing them that I can work just as hard as you can, and showing them that, no, you're not the smartest in the room. I know what I'm talking about as well. And even if I don't, I can go and research what the law is, right? So just maintaining your position that you are eligible to be in that room and you worked hard to be in that room. That is probably my biggest challenge.
Got it.
Mhm.
Interesting to hear in terms of how you've been treated by people who do and don't look like us. Is
Mhm.
That's alarming. I'm interested to hear because you shared one is that you've won all of your cases in 3 years. What are some of your wins as a solo practitioner?
Big wins. I mean, one of the wins I actually was discussing yesterday with my paralegal, because she said, "Miss Nelson, some of the judges are not up to date on the law." And I had a judge tell me he didn't have jurisdiction to help my client with interim child support fees because we were there for family offense petition. So, family offense petition is basically a petition that says there is an offense within a family, and it could be abuse, sexual assault, any type of like offense. And he said, "I don't have jurisdiction. This is not child support court." And I said, "It just really seems strange to me that a judge can't make a ruling, at least temporarily, on a family that is set apart, estranged because of an offense. And when they're set apart, there has been a displacement, a financial hardship on the children because mom and dad are set apart. I said, I find that really peculiar. So I went back home that night, 3 in the morning. I wake up and I was like, let me see something. And I went into the Family Court Act. That's the FCA. That is the governing law for family court in New York. And I saw in Article 8, which governs the entire family offense proceeding, that a judge actually had jurisdiction to give interim child support during a family offense proceeding. After he said on the record he could not. When I tell you I drafted that motion, I said, actually, not only do you have jurisdiction to give her and these 3 kids money, the Article 8, and I cited it, and he had to follow. Oh, he hated me. I had a very, contentious proceeding the entire 6 months, but he had to order that the father pay temporary child support.
I love to hear that.
Yeah.
And that shows, listen, you are on top of your game and helping bring others up with you, whether or not they want to be brought. But again, it goes back to you advocating for those in need and advocating for the families. What a win that was for the mother, the children, for the family as a whole to have been on top of the law and everything at that point, to make that possible. That's a really big deal.
Thank you. And even in like some commercial spaces, I have commercial tenants, and one commercial tenant that her business is displaced because the building is not doing what they're supposed to do. People don't know the law, so they don't know that they can sever a lease or terminate a lease early without any fees or any penalties, because they're not getting the service that they entered into the lease for. So you can easily say, well, we're going to terminate the lease and she's not paying anything or he's not paying anything. So there's so many laws in place that people don't understand or know. And it's our jobs as really good attorneys to make sure that we're enforcing those laws so they can get justice.
Well, I'm glad you mentioned that, because I'd love to move and talk a little bit about that, some of the legal issues facing our community specifically, since a lot of people don't know the law. What are some of the most common legal issues facing, let's say you're in New York, so New York residents, for example?
Mhm. The most common, housing. People know nothing about housing. Instance, if you have a landlord saying, I'm going to terminate the lease, but then they're terminating the lease because they're charging 45% more on the rent, that's unlawful. There is a cap specifically for rent stabilized apartments. I myself, interesting enough, lived in Harlem, and I couldn't believe they went up $150 only a year in. So I did research and I called the housing authority, and they said that is a rent stabilized unit. They're not allowed to do that. So I filed something called a rent overpayment petition. And when they saw that petition, my rent was not raised for the remainder of the 2 years I was there. So it's like, but the leasing agreement in bold letters said, this is not a rent stabilized unit. So it's a misrepresentation, because anyone would see that and say, well, it's not rent stabilized. So now they're not governed by the New York housing laws, because when you're private, then you can go up 45%. But when you're owned by like the New York State, you can't. In order for a building to become state to private, it's a vigorous process. It takes years. So many of these buildings, I believe it's 1920 and up. Anything that is from 1920 and up are usually rent stabilized buildings. And even if your lease says it's not, call and check, because it is. It probably most likely is.
You just helped somebody right there, Stephanie, especially in New York, especially in New York. So housing is obviously a big issue. I'm seeing so much, on the news now about squatters' rights. And I know those vary, by different states. What are some other, fairly common legal issues that, a lot of families and local residents run into?
That's Ashley, that's a really good topic too, because I have a client that had a niece that was squatting in a home she was trying to sell. The home was bequeathed to her. She has lawful rights. She is the administrator over the home, but the niece is squatting and now intercepting the sale of the home. So now she has to go through all of these legal fees and go through the court system to get her niece out. So squatter rights are really horrible. New York is a more tenant friendly state, but residence and commercial is totally different. Some other things are, hmm, fathers, the rights that they have with their children. They don't know the rights that they have with their children. A lot of times, a mom may say, well, he's not paying child support or he's not helping financially. That does not negate the fact that he has a fundamental constitutional right to parent, just as you do. Uh, and a lot of the mothers do intercept or alienate the children from the dad if the relationship went south and they're no longer with the father. um, about 75% of my family law clients are Black men, and it's
Wow.
really sad. Yeah, my family law clients are all, like, almost all men.
Wow. And
Yeah.
are they fighting for rights to see their children, or is it I know you can't go to specific cases, but is it a mix of things
Oh, I
that
can, because I'm not naming anyone. Like, one case, the guy didn't see his son for, like, a year and a half, and he hired a private investigator because she just up and left. By time I was done with that case, not only could he see his son could stay with him every other weekend, and he cried in my bosom, and that is when it becomes fulfilling. Even on the nights where I'm like, "God, what am I doing? Like, this is intense." For a grown man in court to hug me and just cry, my God, I will never forget that.
wow.
Yeah, so, bringing those families together, uh, I'm big on things not being a coincidence. So if 80% of my firm is family, then that's what I'm here to do on earth, bring families together. I also mediate. I love mediating families. Before going to court, I always suggest, hey, let's mediate. Let's see if we can come have a meeting of the minds and have some type of visitation schedule so both parents can equally be in a child's life.
Got it. That's important. I think that's really important. Are there any misconceptions that people have about Black attorneys or really the legal system as a whole?
Absolutely. Um, we didn't fight to get here, DEI. Oh, what school did they go to? And I'm like, okay, if you went to Harvard and it's top tier and you're doing doc review, and I'm literally admitted to practice in federal courts, federal immigration courts, state courts, and I am changing lives. I'm on like my 156th case, and I've only been open for a little under 3 years. I'm like, it's a no brainer. Who's really winning here?
Right.
So, yeah, when you look at me like, oh, well, this is a sister. How did she get here? Does she have the qualifications? That's sometimes how they look at minorities. And it's like, even the minority men, it's like we fight just as hard. And sometimes we do have to fight just as hard, and we do have to present ourselves to the 10th power of all of our peers, because of course this is just unfortunately the society that we live in the USA. Like, everything is about, like, you know, without saying it. So, yeah, we do have to fight 10 times harder, being minority, practicing attorneys.
Wow, that's very telling even in 2026. That's very, very telling.
Yeah.
Stephanie Nelson is here, SL Nelson Law Firm. She's a solo practitioner. Stephanie, tell us, what are some things that people should know before hiring an attorney?
Oh, definitely do a research. Make sure they're actually licensed. Uh, and also you can research disciplinary records, make sure they're not in trouble, make sure that there are no lawsuits against them. And also make sure that they actually have expertise. Ask them very challenging or complex questions about your case because sometimes attorneys can take on cases and not have expertise behind the subject matter,
Okay.
and then you're getting into malpractice. So I would suggest doing research on them, making sure that they know what they're doing when it's pertaining to the nature of your case and what you need help in.
Got it. That's super helpful. And I guess along with that, what are some tips to help the general public to navigate legal situations with confidence?
Don't rely on Chat GPT.
Stephanie, say that one more time for the people in the back. Just one more again.
Don't rely on Chat GPT. You know, or Google. At the end of the day, laws evolve, they change. Um, you want to do research. You want to talk to attorneys, and a lot of attorneys now do free consultations. You also have programs like Legal Aid Society, public defenders, Google, American Bar Association. American Bar Association has a list of attorneys that can help, even if it's just a conversation, a 10-minute conversation. In New York, I know we have programs that we give volunteer attorneys about an hour to two of time with people who are in the queue to ask questions about their case. And I was one of those volunteers. So I would get on a Zoom call and I would give them legal advice. So, and that was free. So there's always a conduit like you can use to bridge a gap with your legal navigating through your legal issue and talking to an attorney and trying to get some type of any type of insight or visibility as to the legal landscape of your case, but you don't have to do the research on your own. There's help out there.
Hmm. I
Hmm.
think it's important that you mention that, there are attorneys working on a volunteer basis. That means for the families, some aspects are free. Because I
Hmm.
think that many times, particularly in the Black community, we think, I'm going to figure this out myself, or I'll take the hit on the other end of court because I'm not paying for an attorney. You
Hmm.
know, I know fees vary based on the firm, the practitioner, the type of law. But what would you say to those who are afraid to get legal representation on something that's big, like let's say an estate or a contract or a housing issue? What about someone that's just hesitant because they think that seeking legal counsel is cost prohibitive?
That is such an amazing question, Ashley, and I'll tell you why. I forgot this saying, it's in the medical field, but eat bad now and pay later. Or something to that effect. And doctors mean you don't take care of yourself now, you're going to have to really pay out of pocket when you get older to treat the ailment. It's the same in law. 40% of my firm's clients are clients who come because they tried to do something themselves and now they're paying 10 times more. So let's say you have a contract dispute. You try to do it yourself and now you miss a statutory deadline. Now I'm filing a motion to say what cause, this is why the deadline was missed, this is why, or, I have one divorce and the client was trying to do everything himself and now they're filing a contempt motion because he didn't follow A through Z what the stipulation agreement said. Or a petition is filed, and then when we go to trial, the allegations that were supposed to be in the petition to be tried are not there because you filed the petition yourself. It's attorneys are not as expensive and costly as people think they are. If it's something as easy, let's say a contract review, you want a partnership with someone, and this is a business. So anywhere from $1,500 to $2,500. You may say, well, who has $2,500? But when it comes to a business, when your business is liquidated or you and your business partner don't see eye to eye, how much have you lost now because there weren't specific terms and provisions in that contract that were mandated to be there? Now you are not covered in that contract. You are exposed. There is no liability from your business partner because you didn't want to pay $1,500 up front to make sure that contract was secured, legally enforceable, and binding and protecting you. It was one-sided. And that has happened. That's an actual case. So there are so many people that come to me with contract disputes, I'm like, pay the $1,500, pay the $2,500. There's someone that came to me the other day with a prenuptial agreement. Well, she said, "Can I pay an hour of your time?" I said, "Well, no, there's a flat fee basically to retain the firm, but you want to pay an hour for a prenup agreement?" And if a divorce happens in this marriage, you want to only pay an attorney. You want to pay an attorney $5,000 for that, actually, because you want to make sure that prenup is so airtight that in the event the marriage didn't work, you are covered legally. So it's worth it up front just to spend the money, save up, and ask your attorneys for payment plans. People do that with me all the time. I get it. You don't have 4,000 up front or 5,000 up front. Okay, let's do a payment plan. And they love that about me because they know I'm trying to work with them. So, you can ask for payment plans. There is something called Affirm that's statewide. Affirm is a legal credit card you can apply for to pay for an attorney. And then you have, other options, of course, credit cards or what so have you. But I will say it's worth the investment to get an attorney on the front end because you pay more on the back end through damages from not doing things correctly on the front end.
Interesting. I have learned so much in this time period altogether. I admit to you, I did not know that payment plans were an option. And I guess that's just you have to ask, right? Depending on who you've retained as your counsel, ask if they offer. That's a big deal. And I think that would probably help a lot of families out to know that there's options to pay versus, everything has to be up front. Or for example, for like a retainer, for example, does that have to all be paid at one time up front, or does it depend on the attorney and the firm?
It depends on the firm, but a lot of firms allow you to pay 50% down. And I've known that because I've worked for firms as paralegals. So I worked for a real estate firm, an estate firm. If it was $5,500, okay, pay $2,500 up front. And criminal firms do that a lot when they get retained. Like, okay, a flat fee is $8,000, pay us 50% up front or 30% up front, and that's why they're invoicing on the back end. So majority of firms actually do installment plans because there's always invoicing on the back end. Mm-hmm.
Interesting. This is good. This is helpful stuff. Super helpful stuff to know, Stephanie. Listen, as you are a proud graduate of Southern University Law Center, what would your advice be to HBCU students who are interested in going into the law field in criminal justice?
Definitely. If you're going to a HBCU law, maximize all the resources. I mean, I have professors that help me with my bar exam. HBCU environments and HBCU life, as you know, is very close-knit. It's like family. So I would say establish relationships and rapport with the professors, the staff members, even the chancellor, the librarians, everyone. And those relationships, believe it or not, will help you even after law school. So I've had help from one of the professors who was in charge of the clinic. And with the clinic, the clinic was helpful in providing an internship for me with the family law and matrimonial law. So in Louisiana, I got to work for the 19th JDC doing family law work. So the professor Washington, who is now the vice chancellor, he helped our chancellor. Actually, he is the chancellor of the Southern Law now. So he got promoted. He helped me tremendously in my career with mediation and family law. And I would also say, just make sure you network. HBCU life, even after you graduate the law school, network, use your resources as an alum.
Love to hear that. Networking is super important, and glad to know that you had support, from college and beyond, like into your career. Stephanie Nelson, what is next for SL Nelson Law Firm?
What is next for SL Nelson Law Firm? I see very big, high-profile cases. I see high-profile cases. I see high-profile firms. I even see the firm expanding. Getting those multi-million-dollar cases. I'm speaking it into existence.
Yes. I'm
that
with
the
you.
firm can expand. Yeah. And, and really be world renowned. And I can even get into, not only expanding, but maybe opening up shop in other areas, the state of Connecticut, DC having a branch or a satellite branch in DC, Maryland, like really just expanding. That's my dream.
I love to hear that. And we're going to speak that into existence with you, that you will expand.
Amen.
Stephanie, I mean, I've been intrigued to learn so much more about what you do, especially as a solo practitioner. You mentioned late nights, you're handling a lot of things. You do have a team, but would you have it any other way? Like, would you change anything about the way that you approach law and advocating for families and being your own boss as a Black woman entrepreneur?
Absolutely not. I love it. I love it. And my paralegal loves it too. We're like having our iced coffee, driving 90 miles per hour down the highway to court. She's like typing in the passenger seat. It's very unconventional, but I love it. It's almost like The Lincoln Lawyer. I don't know if you saw that movie, but The Lincoln Lawyer, he is in a Lincoln and he does majority of his casework in the Lincoln. It has a very good twist and turn to it at the end, so I won't ruin it for you if you didn't see it. But it's like on the go. Like I can do as I please. I would not have it any other way. I could never go back to working for anyone. I love it. I love it.
I love it. And I love that for you. And it is what you do. Is this a growing trend that more attorneys are becoming independent and or solo practitioners?
Yes, it is. It is. A lot of attorneys are going doing solo practitioner work. Um, Two of my friends left their law firms to go, and one actually ADA just left. He's been at the DA's office for about 14 years, and he's starting on his own. So it is a big trend. Because listen, it's almost like when you have your law license, you're your own business because you can represent anyone you want, to be honest. As long as you have that license, you are like a walking billboard.
Right, right. Is it the case, Stephanie, that, dare I say, gone are the days where attorneys aspire to be partner at a firm? Or is that still very much a realistic track for some, just as solo practitionership is a reality and a dream for others?
I think this ship sailed, Ashley, because think about it. That partner track desire does not come with work-life balance. It comes with almost selling your soul. People don't want to live like that anymore. They want to be able to be liberated, live free, do what they love, and still come home at a decent hour to put their child to sleep or to talk on the phone with their mom or dad or to, go out to eat or for drinks with friends. They still have that desire to have a life. So I think with this new generation, we caught on. We're like, wait, we can practice law, we can do it well, and we can still have a life that comes with it. And a lot of us are seeing the money that these big top 10 firms are making, and they're making it off of our backs. So if I'm winning a case and the case is worth 1.5 million, I'm not even seeing 10% of that as
Wow.
an associate as a firm. So people got hip to the game. They're like, let me make it myself, win this case myself, and get what I rightfully deserve for my hard work.
Interesting. And as you rightfully should, get what you deserve for your hard-earned work. This is interesting. Stephanie Nelson, where can folks find out more about you and what you do at SL Nelson Law Firm?
Thank you. Thank you. You can go to www.slnelsonlaw.com. The website gives a full breakdown of all the practice areas. You feel free to fill out a consultation form if you ever need help with any type of legal matter. You can call us 646-588-9725 and always reach out to us that way as well.
Awesome. Glad to hear it. We'll be sure that everyone watching has your information, and I hope that everyone really got some really helpful tips, tools on not only how to navigate the legal system, how to pay for it, the benefits of being a solo practitioner. the challenges and wins that you've had, Stephanie,
Yeah.
in being your own boss and owning your own firm. I've been intrigued to speak with you today, and thank you so much for being here on Classes in Session.
And thank you for having me, Ashley. You're an amazing interviewer, by the way.
Thank you.
You're so organized. You are like bullet after bullet after bullet. I mean, I loved it. I loved it. Thank you so much for having me. And thank you for putting us HBCU grads on a platform to expose what we're doing out there, because we don't have too many platforms. So, just the benefit of you doing this, God bless you. This is amazing work that you're doing. I thank you for that.
I received that and I appreciate that. Again, I think that the work, the value, the legacy of historically Black colleges and universities speaks for themselves. And I think you having outstanding alum, current students, current college presidents who are also alum, the work that you do is carrying on and carrying forward. And I think that there should always be a light shining on it. And I'm glad to be a small part of that here, at Classes in Session. So truly appreciate you being on. Truly do.
Thank you
No
for having
problem. So thanks again to Stephanie Nelson, owner of SL Nelson Law Firm. She's a solo practitioner. Y'all, I learned a lot from this episode. I hope that you did as well. Be sure to share this episode with family and friends. Stay posted for the latest and greatest on Black Enterprise's social media channels and our website, blackenterprise.com. This podcast is also available on Spotify, so make sure you check it out there. And again, for this episode of Classes in Session, I'm your host, Ashley Stevens, and class is dismissed.